What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm doing my way too early 2023 NASCAR Cup Series driver lineup predictions. Let's go and just jump straight into it. Keep this in mind, a lot of these entries, there's a ton of entries in this video, and I don't think a lot of these are going to get finalized, but this is potentially what the entry list could look like in 2023, so let's jump into it. The first one we're going to talk about is a 0-2 car for Our Motorsports. Yes, I think Our Motorsports is only going to run a few select races in 2023, but I think they're going to jump up to the Cup Series in 2023. Considering they've had a massive improvements and upgrades in the NASCAR Xfinity Series with their lineup, I think in 2023 they're going to jump up. And I think they're going to have two drivers that are going to drive their organization in the Cup Series on a part-time basis. I think it'll be Brett Moffitt and Anthony Alfredo. I think they're both going to run about 4 to 5 races each, and I think that they'll run about 10 races throughout the 2023 season. But I think Our Motorsports will jump up to the Cup Series in 2023. And next entry we're going to talk about is the one car for Trackhouse Racing. I don't expect any changes in regards to this entry. I expect that Ross Chastain will continue driving this one car in 2023. Justin Marks has been a major fan of Ross Chastain in 2022. He will be driving for this team, and I believe it's a multi-year deal with this team. So Ross Chastain, I believe, will continue driving for this team in 2023, and I think he'll do a really good job helping out this organization going into 2023. So Ross Chastain will continue to drive for Trackhouse Racing in 2023. And next entry we're going to talk about is the 2-car for Team Penske. No change expected here. Austin Hendrick will continue to drive for Team Penske in 2023. Austin Hendrick will be jumping up full-time to the Cup Series in 2022 at Team Penske. Makes a ton of sense considering he is the son of Tim Cindric, who is basically the president of Team Penske. And he's been with the team basically for the last couple years as a development driver. Plus, he won the 2020 NASCAR Xfinity Series Championship and first time Xfinity Series champion for Team Penske since 2010. So I think Austin could also have a very strong rookie year. So he will, I think, will continue driving for Team Penske in 2023, and I think he'll do really well with this team. The next entry we're going to talk about is a 3-car for Richard Childress Racing. I don't expect any changes here. Austin Dillon, I believe, will continue to drive this 3-car for this team in 2023. Austin Dillon, of course, is the son of Richard Childress, so I don't expect any changes in regards to that. Of course, he is the son of Richard Childress, and he's gotten a couple victories, but I will say that he has improved as a driver in the NASCAR Cup Series, especially over the last couple of years. So I think that Austin Dillon is going to continue driving a 3-car for Richard Childress Racing in 2023. I don't expect any changes in regards to this 3-car heading into the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series season. The next entry we're going to talk about is the 4-car for Stewart Haas Racing. I don't expect any changes here. Kevin Harvick will continue driving for Stewart Haas Racing in 2023. However, I believe that this will be Kevin Harvick's final full-time NASCAR Cup Series season just because of the fact that Kevin Harvick is going to be 48 years old at the end of the 2023 season. There have been talks he was going to retire after 2021, and I think someone else like a Ryan Preece is eventually going to replace him in 2024. But I think that we're going to see Kevin Harvick drive the 4-car. We'll see him continue to drive the 4-car in 2023. The next entry we're going to talk about is the 5-car for Hendrick Motorsports. No change expected here. Kyle Larson will continue to drive this 5-car in 2023. As of right now, he has a contract that does go through 2023, which HendrickCars.com will be sponsoring pretty much for most of the races. I think he's going to basically sponsor for 34 of the races, and maybe those other races he'll be sponsored by Bowman. But Kyle Larson is going to be with the team, I think, for the rest of his career. I expect that he will probably get another contract extension, probably some point here in 2022. But Kyle Larson will continue to drive the 5-car in 2023, which I think he will potentially have another really strong year in 2022, and he could also have a very strong year in 2023 as well. The next team we're going to talk about is a 6-car for RFK Racing. No changes expected here. Brad Keselowski will continue driving the 6-car for RFK Racing, and of course, it makes a lot of sense. Brad Keselowski is the co-owner/driver of this organization. In 2022, Brad Keselowski is going into an ownership role, but also going to be a driver for this team in 2022. He is taking over for Ryan Newman. I think Brad Keselowski is going to bring a lot of insight to this team in 2022, and I think that over time, he's going to have much more of an ownership stake, and I think that basically he's Jack Roush, but almost I think Jack Roush at some point is going to retire from the NASCAR Cup Series. So Brad Keselowski will continue, in my opinion, driving the 6-car for many years, and he will include the 2023 season. The next entry we're going to talk about is a 7 car for Mbm Motorsports. I don't expect any changes here. Corey LaJoie, I think, will continue to drive the 7 car for this team in 2023. I think is going to maybe be the main focus for this organization. I think they're going to build a lot around Corey LaJoie starting in 2022 for sure. I think Corey LaJoie is really going to improve in 2022, and I think those improvements he has in 2022 are going to take place in 2023 as well. I think Corey LaJoie is going to be a massive pickup for this team, continue to be a really good pickup for this team, and I think Corey LaJoie will do a great job, and I think he will continue driving the 7 car in 2023. The next entry we're going to talk about is the 8 car for Richard Childress Racing. I don't expect any changes here. I think Tyler Reddick will continue driving this 8 car in 2023. I think in 2022, Tyler Reddick is going to have his breakout year in the NASCAR Cup Series. I think he's going to win a few races with this team in 2022. I think he's going to have a multi-win season, and I also think that Tyler Reddick could also continue that in 2023. I look at Tyler Reddick as a potential, really one of the big reasons why RCR has been able to stay pretty relevant, especially over the last couple of years. So, and you look back 2019, they were struggling. When Reddick came into 2020, their organization drastically improved, and I think he's going to be one of the big reasons that this team continues to improve heading into 2023. So I think Tyler Reddick will continue to drive the A car for Rich Childress Racing heading into 2023. The next entry we're going to talk about is a 9 car for Hendrick Motorsports. No change expected here. Chase Elliott will continue driving this 9 car in 2023. While Chase Elliott right now only has a contract that right now goes through the 2022 season, there's a massive contract that is being built behind the scenes for Chase Elliott to potentially have some major stake into this organization and continue driving this organization pretty much for the rest of his career. They're talking about some big, massive behind the scenes right now with Chase Elliott. And it makes a lot of sense, too. Chase Elliott won the championship for them in 2020, and they're not going to want to get rid of a guy like Chase Elliott heading into the long-term future of this team. So I think that Chase Elliott will continue to drive this 9 car heading into 2023. I think it will also have a big year potentially in 2022 and also in 2023. The next entry we're going to talk about is the 10 car for Stewart Haas Racing. I don't expect any changes here. Eric Almirola, I think, will continue to drive for Stewart Haas Racing heading into 2023. However, I think that this actually is going to be his final year with SHR in the number 10 car on a full-time basis. And the big reason is because of Smithfield. I think Smithfield is going to lose a lot of their funding with this organization starting in 2022. And they really have not at this point revealed how many races they are going to sponsor Eric Almirola in 2022. So I think especially with ownership changes that are happening up in the companies right now, I believe that we're going to see eventually some changes for Eric Almirola, but I think at leleast for 2023, and he'll be working with Drew Blickensurfer in 2023 as well, I think Eric Almirola, he is a year-by-year basis, but I think Eric Almirola will continue driving this 10 car in 2023. The next driver and team we're going to talk about is the 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. I don't expect any changes here. I think that Denny Hamlin will continue to drive this 11 car in 2023. Denny Hamlin, of course, has basically been one of the best drivers at Joe Gibbs Racing, arguably the best driver to never win a NASCAR Cup Series championship. I think around this time is when Denny Hamlin could potentially fall off. However, I still think Denny Hamlin will be extremely consistent. I just don't think he's going to win as much as he has over the last couple years with him and Gabe Hardy worked together very, very well. So I think Denny Hamlin potentially could fall off in 2023. But I do think Denny Hamlin will have a pretty big year, still have a chance to contend for a championship heading into 2023, and I think they'll still have a pretty solid year in 2023, and I think he'll continue driving his car in 2023 because he's got a multi-year contract for crying out loud. The next driver team we're going to talk about is a 12 car for Team Penske. No changes here. Ryan Blaney is going to continue driving his 12 car for Team Penske heading into the 2023 season. Ryan Blaney right now has a contract that currently goes through the 2023 season, but I think that with how good Ryan Blaney was in 2021, and I think he could potentially do that in 2022, I think at some point this season in 2022, he's going to get an extension. I think he's potentially the main leader of this organization long-term down the road. He was arguably the best driver at Team Penske in 2023, and I think in 2023 he will step it up once again, and I think he will once again continue driving this 12 car for the team. I think he's going to have a pretty big year in 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is the 13 car for Mbm Motorsports. This one I'm going to say is potential that they show up in 2023. We're going to have to wait and see. But I still think it's very possible that Mbm Motorsports could have 2 cars in 2023. And if they do have a second car in 2023, which I think is potentially possible because they've had it in the past, I think that they are going to have Garrett Smith drive this 13 car in 2023. I think that Mbm Motorsports really likes Garrett Smith, considering he almost actually made it to the Daytona 500 for Mbm Motorsports. Now, they're only going to have one car for 2022, but I think especially with money and stuff, and potentially maybe long-term getting a charter, I think that Garrett Smith will get into the 13 car in 2023 with the Mbm Motorsports camp. He's been a driver, has kind of been an underdog with these organizations, and I think that he will drive the 13 long-term with this team and on a part-time basis, but he'll drive the 13 car. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 14 car for Stewart Haas Racing. I don't expect any changes here long term. I think that Chase Briscoe is going to continue to drive the 14 car for Stewart Haas Racing in 2023. Chase Briscoe, of course, had a pretty rookie year, but let's be for real, the SHR season was pretty forgettable. But I think Chase Briscoe, being a Ford driver, he will continue to drive his team in 2023. And I really believe that Stewart Haas really likes Chase Briscoe, and he's been, like I said, been a Ford development driver for a long term down the road. Now, if Stewart Haas Racing does at some point potentially switch over to Dodge, that could affect his relationship, and maybe he'll be out of SHR. But I think in 2023, I think that Chase Briscoe is going to drive his 14 car, and I think he will continue driving it for a long-term basis. I think Chase Briscoe is going to continue driving the 14 car for this team in 2023. The next team we're going to talk about is a 15 car for Hendrick Racing. I think Hendrick Racing is going to re-expand once again, and I think they're going to have 3 cars, but I think the third car is only going to be on a part-time basis. The first car, the 15 car, is going to be a full-time entry. And I think the 15 car is going to be driven by the Aussie, also known as James Davison. James Davison, of course, has made a ton of starts the last couple of years. And I think that Hendrick really long-term wants to keep James Davison in their organization, considering I'd like to see James Davison in a better car. And I do think with the SHR upgrades, I think this team overall is going to be better long-term. So I think that James Davison is going to continue driving this 15 car in at least the 2023 season. I think he could be at this team pretty much for the rest of his Cup Series career, considering he has a lot of potential and a lot of time to really get it done. I think that James Davison will continue driving for this team heading into 2023. The next team we're going to talk about is a 16 car for College Racing. College Racing I also expect to be a 3-car team in 2023. I think that they will expand to a 3-car team, whether they have a charter or not. And I think the 16 car, the first one we're going to talk about, is going to be a full-time entry in 2023. And I think that Daniel Hamrick is going to jump up to the Cup Series full-time in 2023 once again. Now, Danny Hamrick does have one full season in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2019, although it was very, very forgettable. He still, I think ended up winning the Rookie of the Year in 2019, but lost his ride. But he will drive full-time in the Xfinity Series for College Racing, and he's going to be making a ton of starts in the NASCAR Cup Series with College Racing. I think he's going to be making around 11 to 12 starts in 2022, and I think that if he does well enough, I think that he will drive this car full-time in 2023, in the 2023 season. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 17 car for RFK Racing. This one, we're not expecting any changes. I think that Chris Buescher is going to continue driving this car in 2023. I believe that Chris Buescher, I'm not sure if it's just a sponsor or him, but I believe that Chris Buescher does have a contract with RFK Racing that goes as of now through potentially through 2024 or 2025. And for many, many years before he went over to JTD, he had been a development driver for the Ford camp, and I think that he will be with the team for many, many years. I think with Brad being there, he's going to be able to get a lot of learning experiences, and he's going to be able to learn off of a NASCAR Cup Series champion. So I think he's going to do really, really well potentially, and I think that he will continue driving the 17 car in 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is the 18 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. No changes here. Kyle Busch will continue driving this car in 2023. Now, the big difference for Kyle Busch is he's not going to have the M&M sponsorship on his car. He's going to have a different sponsor. Maybe Caterpillar somehow jumps up, because remember, Caterpillar is not going to be with RCR in 2022. Maybe they're talking to Caterpillar about perhaps them sponsoring Kyle Busch in 2023. But Kyle Busch, of course, he's one of the best drivers in the NASCAR Cup Series. I don't expect him to struggle at all in 2022, and I think that for many, many years, he will continue to be a very, very solid and a really, really great driver. So I think we know that Kyle Busch has a contract in 2023, and I think he'll do good once we get to 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. I don't expect any changes here. I think Nemechek Jr. will return to this team in 2023. Now, I believe that Nemechek Jr. right now only has a contract at this moment that goes through the 2022 season. However, and I know a lot of people bring up Ty Gibbs about him potentially jumping up to the Cup Series full-time in 2023. I don't think that Ty Gibbs is going to jump up full time. Now, that being said, I think he'll make select starts with another organization we'll talk about here later in this video. But I do not think that Hendrick Jr. is going to jump up to the Cup Series, is going to leave after 2023, too. That being said, I think MTJ is going to kind of start taking a step backwards. I think his performance is going to start dropping around 2022 and in 2023 as well. And I think this is a bold hot take. I think Hendrick Jr. is going to retire from the Cup Series after 2023. I think his last year comes in 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. I don't expect any changes with this team. I expect that Christopher will continue to drive this 20 car in 2023. Now, Christopher's contract is really unknown. However, I do believe that Christopher right now only has a contract that goes through the 2022 season. However, because of the fact that he has been a Toyota driver, TRD driver for many, many years, since around 2015, I don't think that they're going to get rid of Christopher Bell. So I think that Christopher is going to continue driving this car in 2023. I think he's only going to get better in 2022, considering talent matters a ton with the next-gen car. So I think that Christopher will continue to drive this car heading into 2023. And I think he absolutely will deserve to continue to drive this team, considering he's been in the Toyota development program for many, many years. I think he will continue driving this car. And I think he'll probably potentially make Xfinity starts in 2023. But I think he continues to drive the 20 car in 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 21 for Wood Brothers Racing. I don't expect any changes here. I think that Harrison Byrne will continue to drive this 21 car in 2023. Harrison Byrne will be joining Wood Brothers in 2022 as he will jump up to the Cup Series. In 2023, I think it will go better for him than he did in 2022. So I think in 2023 he's only going to improve because, again, I think the lack of experience will hurt him in 2022. However, I do think in 2023, his experience only is going to get a lot better, and I think he's going to improve his performance. And I think that he's going to have a pretty big year heading into 2023. So we're going to have to wait and see how he does in 2023 after not an amazing rookie year, but I think that we'll continue to see Harrison Burton drive the 21 for Wood Brothers in 2023. I think potentially go over to SHR long-term since he's part of KHI development program, but I think that he will continue driving this 21 car in 2023. The next team we're going to talk about is a 22 car for Team Penske. No changes expected here. Joey Logano will continue driving this Team Penske 22 car in 2023 because Joey Logano right now has a contract that right now goes through the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series season. However, because of the fact he's been extremely strong with Team Penske and he won a championship in 2018 and has been a championship contender really until 2021, he will get extended. He'll probably get a multi-year extension because, of course, Sheldon Pennzoil really like Joey Logano. So I think that they will continue to work with Joey Logano heading into 2023. And I think that long-term he'll be with the team. I think for the rest of his NASCAR Cup Series career, he will be 33 at the end of 2023. But I think that he will continue driving this 22 car in 2023. We already know that. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 23 car for 2311 Racing. No expected changes here. Bubba Walsh will continue to drive this 23 car in 2023. Bubba Walsh will be once again back in 2022 as well as he'll be able to potentially learn off of Kurt Busch in 2023. I think that in 2022 he's going to improve. I think he's going to improve his performance, and I think that will translate into 2023 as well. I look at Bubba Walsh as potentially having a massive, massive upbringing in 2021, and I do think in 2022, I think he's only going to improve on that specific performance. So I think Bubba Walsh is going to have a pretty big year potentially, and we'll see him in the 23. He's going to be looking to have a much better year. I think he potentially could be a top 10 NASCAR Cup Series driver by this point in 2023, and I think that he will have potentially a very strong year in 2023 as he will continue driving for this team in 2023. The next team we're going to talk about is a 2014 for Hendrick Motorsports. No change expected here. William Byron, I believe, will continue to drive for Hendrick Motorsports in 2023. Wow. Contracts have not been announced for this team heading into 2023, and William Byron's contract right now only goes through 2022. William Byron is going to get extended, and I think a lot of that does help with the fact that he does have a massive contract with Liberty University that goes through 2026, so William Byron is expected to continue driving for this team in 2026. I think William Byron is going to slowly but surely become a championship threat. This is the first season in 2021 where I really thought he was going to step it up, and I do think in 2023 he's only going to step it up more and really step up his performance. So I think that William Byron is only going to get better and have a much better season heading into 2023. I think he will have a big year in 2023. The next team we're going to talk about is a 25 for Kaulig Racing. Yes, I think Kaulig, like I said, will have 3 cars, and this 25 car will be a car that runs only on a part-time basis. This car will not be a chartered entry, and it will be a mixture of 2 drivers, Landon Castle and AJ Allmendinger. I think AJ will run all the road course races in 2023 in this car, and I think Landon Castle will run all the short tracks and all the super speedways in some of the intermediate tracks. I think this car will run around 20 to 25 races, trying to basically get a little bit of information for their Xfinity Series camp, and I think Landon Castle will get in Cup in 2023. I think having that little bit of experience, I think, is going to matter a lot for them, and like I said, I think that in 2023, we'll see this be a 2-car entry, again, 2-driver entry for this car. I think Kaulig expands a 3-car operation, and I think that this includes this 25 car. I know 25 is an interesting number. A lot of people probably think like the number 61, but I think that they will go with the 25 as their 3rd entry in 2023 because I think they expand in 2023. The next team we're going to talk about is a 27 car for Team Haysbers. There's going to be no changes here. Larice Hasemans and Jacques Villeneuve, I believe, will continue to drive for this team in 2023. Now, I think it's unlike 2022, which we don't even really know their schedule, I think they're going to have a much more extended schedule in 2023. I don't think they're going to run the full season in 2023, but I think they will run a part-time schedule in 2023, but most of the season. I think instead of running like 10 to 12 races in 2023, I think they're going to run about 20 to 25 races. I think they increase their schedule. I think Larice will run all the road courses and all the short tracks as well. And I think Jacques Villeneuve will run all the super speedway races and maybe a couple other races in 2023. But I think that these will be the 2 drivers that will continue driving. I think they long-term want to be a really, really successful team. And they've shown pretty good speed in the practice sessions, in the testing, and they will be at the Daytona 500 as well. And I think that we will see this as your entries in 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 29 car for RFK Racing. Yes, this one is going to be a little bit surprising, a little bit controversial, but I think that RFK Racing is going to have a 3rd entry only on a part-time basis. The driver that I think, and this is going to blow your mind a little bit, I think that Riley Herbst, yes, you heard that right, I think Riley Herbst is going to drive on a part-time basis for the RFK Racing organization in 2023. I think he's going to run a few select starts. I think he's got the money to run with the monster. I know people are not going to like me saying that because, again, Riley Herbst, I don't think is an amazing driver. But I think especially with the money and the funding he has, I think he's going to want to make a few select starts. And I think that RFK will potentially have, if they have that money, they'll run a 3rd car. I think it will only be for the super speed races, though. I think he only runs all 4 of the super speed races, or all 6 super speed races, because Atlanta's technically going to be a super speedway in 2023, too. But I think that Riley Herbst is going to drive part-time for a 3rd RFK car, and plus he's been part of the Ford development program for a few years now, so I think that they will have him be in a 3rd RFK car only on a part-time basis, so in 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 31 car for Kaulig Racing. No expected changes here. Justin Haley will continue to drive this 31 car in 2023. He's got a multi-year deal with this team going into 2022 and 2023. And plus, he's been with the Kaulig team really for a few years now. And I think that he will continue to drive this team for many, many years to come. Justin Haley's been driving since 2019. I do think going into 2023, he will only continue to improve and get better. I think he's a driver to really watch going into 2022. And I think especially with that Cup experience he's had, I think that will come into play driving for Spire and other teams. I think it will come into play, and I think that he will continue to drive this 23 car in 2023 with this team. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 32 car for 2311 Racing. I think that 2311 Racing is going to expand from a 2-car team to a 3-car team in 2023. And there's one driver in particular that I believe is going to jump up to the Cup Series full-time in 2023. And I think that is going to be, of course, the one and only John Hunter Nemechek. John Hunter Nemechek is right now in the staff right now, and he's going to be back with KBM in 2022. I think he's going to jump all the way up from KBM in 2022, and I think he's going to jump up to 2311 in 2023. I look at John Hunter Nemechek being a really, really strong driver. Plus, of course, he does have Fire Alarm, I think like Fire Alarm Studios or something like that, that is sponsoring FAS, which is basically sponsoring him really since the beginning of his career. So I think that they will continue to sponsor him, which will help him jump up to this team. Will they get a charter for this car? I really don't know, but I think that in 2023, they will expand to a 3-car team, and I think John Hunter Nemechek will drive this 32 car in 2023 for the team, plus 32 makes a lot of sense for this team to have anyways. The next team and drivers we're going to talk about is a 33 car for Richard Childress Racing. I think that Richard Childress Racing is going to have 3 cars in 2023. However, I think the 3rd car is only going to be on a part-time basis for a couple of starts. And I think it's going to be their 2 current guys that are in the NASCAR Xfinity Series pipeline. That being, of course, at this moment, you've got Sheldon Creed and Austin Hill being those drivers. And I think they will be the 2 drivers that will drive these cars in 2023. And I think it makes a lot of sense, too, if you really think about it. Both these drivers will be driving full-time in Xfinity. They will be officially rookies. And I think that they will make select cup starts in 2023. And again, they're 2 drivers that I think are going to do really, really well in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Again, I think they only run around 5 to 8 races. But I think long-term, we could see one of these 2 drivers potentially go full-time with the team in 2024, depending on what happens to other drivers at this team after 2023. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, but I think in 2023, we're going to see a 3rd Richard Childress Racing car. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 34 car for Front Row Motorsports. No changes I think will happen here. I think Michael Mcdowell will continue to drive the 34 for Front Row Motorsports in 2023. Now, Michael Mcdowell is going to be a much older driver in 2023, as I believe he will be around 39 or 38 years of age. Will be around 40 or 39 or 40 years old around 2023. But I think because Michael Mcdowell has been the factory driver for Front Row Motorsports for so many years, I think that he will continue to drive this 34 car for many, many years. And I think that he will be, again, in later stage of his career, but I think he's still got plenty of time to get things done. And not only that, I think he's only going to improve as the years progress. So I think that we're going to continue seeing Michael Mcdowell drive this 34 car and do a lot of great things in a 34 car in 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is the 36 for Front Row Motorsports. This one is a very more possibly in 2023 than 2022. I think Front Row will have enough inventory where they will be able to get at least a one-off start in 2023 with David Ragan. That's right, Front Row Motorsports, I think will have 3 entries that will show up for the Daytona 500. When I look at David Ragan always wants to kind of run the Daytona 500. And in 2019 and 2020, he basically drove the Daytona 500 for the Front Row Motorsports camp. So I think in 2023, I think they will run 1 or 2 starts, and I think David Ragan will be the driver of that 36 car in 2023. And I think this will be the last time we'll probably run it too. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 38 car for Front Row Motorsports. No changes expected here. Todd Gillen will continue to drive the 38 car in 2023. This will be the first time since David Ragan was in the car that they'll have a driver that will run more than 1 season. Todd Gillen will be a rookie in 2022, and he's got a multi-year deal with this organization. And I think that Todd Gillen will improve from 2022 to 2023. I think his performance is going to improve as years progress and the years go on. And I think Todd Gillen will be a potential benefit and a potential asset to this team long-term down the road. And I think he's only going to improve in 2023 in the NASCAR Cup Series. The next team we're going to talk about is a 41 car for Stewart Haas Racing. I don't expect any changes here. I think that Cole Custer will continue to drive for Stewart Haas Racing in 2023. While a lot of people have not been really impressed with Cole Custer's performance, he is a son of the president of SHR, Joe Custer. He's not leaving the team anytime soon. And I know a lot of people probably would like someone from the Toyota, like the Ford pipeline, like Hailie Deegan to jump up by that point. But Hailie Deegan is not going to be ready to jump up. Let's be perfectly honest here. But I think Cole Custer is going to be a really good asset to this team. I think he actually will improve in 2022, especially with practice and qualifying coming back at that point. But I think Cole Custer is going to have to step it up by this point in 2023. He is going to be a little bit older. He's going to be around 25 years old at this point. So in 2023, what he'll be looking for is he will be looking to improve his performance going into 2023 and in 2022 as well, but especially in 2023 as the years progress. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 42 car for Petty GMS Racing. No changes expected here. Ty Dillon will continue to drive this car in 2023. Ty Dillon was already going to drive the car regardless if it was going to be GMS or Petty GMS Racing. He already was going to be driving this car for many, many years with this team. And Ty Dillon is getting a really good chance here in 2022. And I do think in 2023, I think that Petty GMS will be a better organization by that point and will be a much more competitive organization. So I think Ty Dillon will continue to drive this 42 car in 2023. Again, I know some people probably want other drivers in the Chevy pipeline to get an opportunity to ride, but I do think that this team will continue to have Ty Dillon driving the 42 car in 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 43 car for Petty GMS Racing. This one we already know. Well, we don't know entirely, but I think that Erik Jones will continue to drive the 43 car for Petty GMS Racing in 2023. Erik Jones, I think, is a really, really talented driver. And I think especially with having GMS there and GMS backing, I think only their performance is going to get better. I think they're going to show a lot more speed. They're going to show a lot more progress. And I think that both the drivers, especially like Ty Dillon, but especially Erik Jones, I think Erik Jones is only going to improve on his performance in 2023. And they can really build around both of the drivers who I think are about to hit the primes of their NASCAR careers. Erik Jones will be around, I think, 29 or 30 years old around this point. So he is going to be an older driver by 2023. But Erik Jones will, I believe, continue to drive for this team in 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 44 car for NY Racing. Now, this team I'm a little bit skeptical on even if they're going to show up in 2022. But if they don't show up in 2022, but there's talk they will, they definitely will show up in 2023. And I think in 2023, if they do officially show up in 2022, I think in 2022 will have Ryan Newman potentially. But I think in 2023, they're going to call someone who has driven for the organization in the past, and they're going to call up J.J. Yeley to drive this car. J.J. Yeley has driven for NY Racing for a couple of years. He drove for the team in 2018. And I think that they are going to choose J.J. Yeley if they're going to jump up to the Cup Series in 2023. Again, this team always teases they're going to show up, and then they never do. But I think it's very possible that NY Racing could show up in 2022. And I think if they do show up in 2022, they will be on a circuit in 2023 as well, in my opinion. The next team we're going to talk about is a 45 car for 2311 Racing. No changes here. Kurt Busch will continue to drive for this team in 2023. Kurt Busch has a multi-year deal with this team, and I think that at this point, Kurt Busch will be a much more contender. I think he's going to be a driver that's going to win multiple races with this team potentially in 2023. When you look at Denny Hamlin and his comments about Kurt Busch, you look at how good Kurt Busch is as a NASCAR Cup Series driver and being a NASCAR Cup Series champion. And I do think that that is going to benefit this team throughout the years. And Kurt Busch, I think, will do a great job continuing to be a great driver and a great asset to the team in 2023. And he will continue to drive the 43 car in 2023, which I think will be a big benefit for this team. The next team we're going to talk about and driver we're going to talk about is a 47 car for JT Doherty Racing. This one I don't expect any changes. I think that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will continue to drive the 47 car for JTG Doherty Racing in 2023. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is a really good, pretty decent driver in my honest opinion. And I know that we give Ricky Stenhouse Jr. a lot of crap because his performance on the racetrack on the Cup Series has not been really that impressive. But I will say he's actually gotten better at JTG Doherty Racing and has been a much more consistent driver. He had impressive performances at National in 2021. And I do think that that performance will improve in 2022, considering the fact that in 2022 they're only going to have one car, which is going to be important to have that focus on that one car. And I think that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. will be a big benefit and asset to the team long-term down the road, as I think he will continue to drive the team, especially in 2023. The next team we're going to talk about is a 48 car for Hendrick Watersports. This one we already know. Alex Bowman has a contract through 2023, so he's not leaving this team anytime soon. Alex Bowman had a pretty big year in 2021, and I think he will be much more consistent in 2022, albeit I don't think he's going to win more races. That being said, though, I think that he potentially could have a mixture of both consistency and winning races, and I think he will be an underdog to win the championship with this team. And you look how good of a driver Alex Bowman is. I think he's a driver that knows how to get it done, knows what he's absolutely wants, and knows what he's absolutely doing, and I believe that he will do a great job continuing to drive for this team in 2023. I think he knows what he's doing, and I think he will get it done in 2023 with the Hendrick Motorsports as he returns to his team. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 50 for the Money Team Racing. Now, this one is a little bit of a question mark. Honestly, I'm not really entirely sure this team's ever going to show up to the NASCAR circuit. We've not even heard if they're going to have a next-gen chassis at all. But I do think that there is a possibility because there is still some chatter that they could show up even in 2022 and even in 2023 as well. Now, if they do show up in 2023, what driver do I think they will go with? I think that they're going to go with Jeffrey Earnhardt. Jeffrey Earnhardt has driven for this organization. Well, Jeffrey Earnhardt is someone I've always associated with the money team racing. Plus, he's got a little bit of that funding. But I think Bass Pro Shops and all that stuff, I think, has funded him in the past. So I think if they were going to show up in 2023, I think they would go with someone like him. So I think if they will show up, potentially show up, and if they do, I think they will choose Jeffrey Hart as their driver. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 51 car for Rick Ware Racing. I think the Daysville car will continue to be a full-time car in 2023. And while I think a lot of people want a driver that I think is really, really talented, I think his money is going to matter a lot more. And I think because Cody Ware is the son of Rick Ware, and he's been with the team pretty much really helping him out in his career, Cody Ware, I think, will continue to drive for this team in the 51 car on a full-time basis. There is that possibility that Cody Ware could go and run an IndyCar and an IMSA, but I think in 2023, I think that we're going to continue to see Cody Ware drive this car and drive in this organization on a full-time basis, because also that Nerd Tech funding is also coming into play for this team as well. So I think that Cody Ware will continue to drive the 51 car for this team in 2023. The next team and drivers we're going to talk about is a 52 car for Rick Ware Racing. I think Rick Ware will have a third car. However, I think it will be only on a part-time basis with the 52 team. And I think it will be a mixture of drivers who have driven for the Rick Ware team. I think this will be the combination car. I think that in 2023, they will have Joey Gase, who's already running an Xfinity Series operation. And I also think that Ryan Preece will make more select starts in this 52 car. I think it'll be a part-time car. Ryan Preece will make a majority of starts with this team. I think Ryan Preece will make 10 to 15 starts as he gets a little bit more experience in the Cup Series, as he gets prepared to potentially go in and replace Kevin Harvick in 2024. So I think that Ryan Preece will make most of the starts, but I also think Joey Gase will make a few select starts in his 52 car in 2023, in my opinion. The next team we're going to talk about is a 55 car for Live Fast Motorsports. Now, this car I think is very, very questionable, but I think there's a possibility that we're going to see a second Live Fast Motorsports car with SHR partnership. And I look at the drivers who are currently driving with the Live Fast Motorsports organization. What is a driver that I think could get in, well, their Byron Motorsports organization, Xfinity. What's a driver that I think could get into a second entry for Live Fast? Well, I look at Stephen Parsons. Stephen Parsons is a driver that's been driving for Byron Motorsports for multiple years, and he's going to be driving full-time in the Xfinity Series for this team in 2023. Now, they also could get Josh Williams, who, of course, is driving full-time for Byron Motorsports and Xfinity in 2022 as well. But I think that they will go with Stephen Parsons, who has Sokol Digital funding if they do run part-time. Again, I think the 55 will not be a full-time entry. I think it will be a part-time entry, but I think that they will go with Stephen Parsons to be the driver of this team. The next team we're going to talk about is a 62 car for Beard Motorsports. While the future of this team after 2022 is definitely going to be uncertain, I think that Beard Motorsports is going to continue to still race in 2023. I think they're going to run all the super speedways in 2023. And the driver that I think is going to run all those races for Beard Motorsports, all super speed races, I believe, is going to be Michael Annett. And I think Pilot Flying J, which has been a long-time sponsor with Michael Annett, I think they're going to continue sponsoring with Michael Annett in 2023. I think Beard Motorsports wants to continue racing, even though, unfortunately, the owner of the team passed away last year. I still think the team wants to continue racing a long-term down the road. So I think the 6-2 team is going to show up, and I think they're going to bring Michael Annett to those races in 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 6-6 car for Mbm Motorsports. I think it's possible the 6-6 car could be chartered by the end of the 2023 season. I think this car could end up being a charter car at some point if they decide to add more charters. But I think the 6-6 car will be a full-time car, whether it's a charter or not. And I think that Timmy Hill will be the driver of this team. Now, in 2022, this car will have multiple drivers with Boris Said and Timmy Hill. I know a lot of you are thinking, what about Boris Said? I do not think that Boris Said will be in this car in 2023. I think he's going to be around 6 years old. So I think that Boris Said is going to retire after 2022. But he's going to run some starts in 2022. And I think in 2023 he will not return. I think that we will only see one driver in this car. And I think it will only be Timmy Hill in 2023. The next team and driver we're going to talk about is a 77 for Spire Motorsports. I don't really expect any changes here. I think Josh Blicky will continue to drive the 77 for Spire Motorsports in 2023. Now, it's not officially confirmed if he's going to drive for the team in 2023, but he's expected to have his announcement come very, very shortly here in actually a couple of days. And I think that Josh Blicky will continue to drive for this team in 2023 as well. I think Josh Blicky is a really, really good driver, a very, very solid driver, who's only 26 years old, by the way, and only be around 28 when the 2023 season starts. So I think he's going to be a major asset to this team, and I think that he'll do a really, really good job. And I think Josh Blaney will continue to drive a 77 car, and he's also got that sponsorship for Insurance King that will help him in 2023. The next team and drivers we're going to talk about is a 78 car for Live Fast Motorsports. This car will be a full-time entry with a charter, and BJ McLeod, I think, will run a majority of races in 2023. But I do think that he'll run less races in 2023, and I think he'll do something very similar to what he is doing in 2022. I think we'll have multiple other drivers, like, of course, maybe Ryan Eversley gets in this car, Shane Golobic maybe for the dirt, Chris Wyndham maybe for the dirt, maybe some drivers they will end up potentially, possibly, getting for the dirt race and stuff. But I think that BJ McLeod will have multiple entries in his cars in 2023, and I think they'll run a majority of the season at that particular point. The next team we're going to talk about, and drivers we're going to talk about, is the 83 car for Junior Motorsports. I think Junior Motorsports is actually going to jump up to the Cup Series in 2023, and I think that they will have 2 entries. The 83 car, the first one, will only be a part-time entry in 2023, but they will have multiple drivers in this organization. I think it will be Josh Berry, who's driving the one car, well, he's driving a car full-time in 2022 in Xfinity, and Sam Mayer will make a few select starts. Now, Sam Mayer will make less starts than Josh Berry, and this car will make around 15 to 20 starts. But it will be only part-time. It will be an unchartered car. But I look at Josh Berry and Sam Mayer, 2 guys that I think are talented. I know that Sam Mayer really did not have a good year in 2021, but he's looking to prove that in 2022 by going full-time. And I think in 2023, both these guys will make starts in the Cup Series in 2023. The next team entry we're going to talk about is the other Junior Motorsports car, the 88 car. This car is going to be full-time. I think they will potentially have a charter in 2023. And I think that Noah Gragson, who will be making a lot of starts in the Cup Series in 2022, I think in 2023, Noah Gragson is going to drive this car on a full-time basis. I think is going to get a full-time start. I think the fact that he's running basically most of the year, a lot of the year in 2022, if with Kyle Grayson and a couple maybe for Beard Motorsports, I think is going to really, really affect and help Noah Gragson make starts. So I think in 2023, I think they will have a full-time car. This 88 will be full-time. And I think Noah Gragson with Black Rifle Coffee and the other sponsors, Bass Pro Shops, will sponsor him in 2023, in my opinion. The next team we're going to talk about is a 96 car for Gaunt Brothers Racing. Now, Gaunt Brothers Racing, I think, is actually going to run a majority of the season. And I think most of the year, they're going to have Brandon Jones, who will make a majority of the starts for this team. Probably around, I think they're going to run 25 to 30 races in 2023. And I think that Brandon Jones will run 70 to 80% of those races. However, I think that Ty Gibbs is actually going to make a few select starts for this car in 2023. It's possible he could in 2022 for Gaunt Brothers, but I think in 2023, Ty Gibbs will make a few select starts. He will make his Cup Series debut, and I think he makes it with Gaunt Brothers, but I think he'll have major Joe Gibbs backing in that 96 car. I think the 96 will get Joe Gibbs racing backing in that year. And the final entry we're going to talk about is a 99 for Trackhouse Racing. No expected changes here. Daniel Suarez, I think, will continue to drive the 99 car for this team in 2023. Daniel Suarez is basically the factory driver of this organization, and basically the team is building around Daniel Suarez. Even though they're going to have Ross Chastain, they're going to basically be building around basically around Daniel Suarez for many, many years. And I think, of course, Daniel Suarez, I think, will have to prove himself in 2022 and especially in 2023. Because, again, in 2021, he finished 25th in the points. But hopefully he can do that in 2023 and will do a great job there. But he is the final entry in 2023 we are talking about. I think he potentially could have a big year in 2023 with this team. So, those are my official 2023 NASCAR Cup Series driver lineup predictions. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, turn notifications on to be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on pages as well. Let's go jump over that and combo your thoughts on today's video. What are your expected 2023 NASCAR Cup Series lineup? And do you think my prediction is a little bit out of there? Or do you think that some of these could potentially come into fruition in 2023? Let me know in the comments below. We're getting close to the start of the NASCAR Cup Series season for 2022. We're about 30 days away from, actually about 28 days away from that for the Clash. I'm looking forward to see when the Clash happens. But anyway, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys next time for some more great and awesome NASCAR and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.